This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing, Liz. They're doing a community of practice titled AI and Manufacturing on Friday, November 7th, right around the corner, 2025, in collaboration with the National Applied Artificial Intelligence Consortium. You can visit them at nextgenmfg.org.
Or naaic.ai.
Fantastic. Liz, we're like always in hunt. We're always on the chase.
We are.
To make a prompt better.
Absolutely.
And Professor Malik, actually, then I just saw this from Dan Fitzpatrick, all the smarties out there, shared a very interesting study that came from Northeastern, Stanford, West Virginia, around how to improve a prompt. It's quite clever, but just you did a little prompt experimentation. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so to make the prompt better, it said by adding the line, generate 5 responses with their corresponding probabilities sampled from the full distribution.
Ooh.
So it was a little over my head, and so then I actually had it explain it a little bit more to me. So
you didn't just trust me and be like, I don't know, I'll go do that.
Yeah, of course not. So I did this with a couple of different things, and I wanted to see how creative it would get. So, but the one that I'm going to stick with and talk about right now is Halloween costumes.
Oh, thank God.
I'm an October baby.
Oh,
I'm an October
right.
29th baby.
That's
so
right.
I'm very close to Halloween, and I hate Halloween.
Really?
I'm not a dress up person. I'm backstage. I want to be on the stage crew. I am not a dress up person.
Okay.
But I pretended that I was going to a Halloween party and needed a costume. You would not catch me dead at a Halloween party.
Who knows? This might be the breakthrough. So just before you say this, though, this is really good for like brainstorming. That's the idea. So
Yes.
coming up with new ideas.
Exactly.
Cool.
So it came up with 5 costume ideas with their probabilities, representing how well they'd likely suit your style, comfort, and sense of humor. And now remember, because I'm using ChatGPT, it knows a ton about me.
Right.
So the number 1 suggestion is Smarty Pants. Tape or pin Smarties candies all over a pair of jeans, wear a nerdy chic top or blazer, and carry a notebook or fake glasses. And so they say why it works. It's quick, it's funny, and requires 0 craft room chaos. It's witty without being too over the top. I can even use my teacher vibe to sell the pun, and it's a great conversation starter and costs about $5.
So you've used this thing for years now for brainstorming. So like, what was just your gut intuition? Better, worse, same?
It did better. And when it gave me the suggestions and told me like the probability, I agreed with what the probability was.
Tell us about the probability part.
So the probability for this one is a 0.38, which I was like, that's not very high. Can you give me a higher suggestion? They said, based on everything I know, this is the highest probability costume suggestion for you because like what it hits on.
Because you have a PhD? You have some Ds.
Some Ds, yes. But I wanted them to explain what that means. So the probability number is how likely it is to be the best fit for me. So out of 100 possible costume ideas, about 38 of them would be something similar to this. Or if there were 108 Liz's, 38 of them would choose this costume. And so, the higher probability, you can't get too high because then that's almost guaranteeing that you would choose that costume.
Okay.
But it said that if it tried a different set of costume options, it might find something even higher, going off of a theme like cozy and creative or funny and effortless. So we got up to a 0.46.
Oh, I'm excited.
And it's called the Craft Tee, the DIY fiber artist tee. So wear a plain t-shirt and decorate it with little yarn snippets, sewing notions, and a hello, my name is Crafty name tag. You can even write puns like not, K-N-O-T, today, or spinning out of control. And so I was like, I like that one better. And it is more likely to be what I would wear over Smarty Pants. So, it's the highest one they got, nearly 50-50 odds that I would like it the most because it balances humor, comfort, and authenticity perfectly. So I don't know, it's kind of interesting to see once these they put in these probabilities of how likely I would be to like them. This probability of 0.06, which is very low, was a 404 errors, costume still loading. That's so dumb. I would never wear that.
All right. Now, this was the treatment. Did you have a control where you compared this against just like that prompt without putting in with the corresponding, 5 responses with their corresponding probabilities sampled from the full distribution?
Yeah, and it just gave me some Halloween costumes. It didn't go in.
Interesting. So they weren't as good.
Yeah.
Okay. So it worked.
It did work.
Okay. Fantastic. Now, do you understand what's happening under the hood?
Sort of. I don't know.
Okay. I'm not sure that I do, but let me take a shot at it. And again, we'll put in both the prompt and the study into the show notes. But do you remember a while back we talked about pre-training and post-training? So pre-training is like when they do the sample of the internet, this common crawl scrape. It's gathering up all the data, but it's a little like raw and edgy. And we compared it to like a toddler and then a preteen and a teen. Right. And like the teen is like foul mouth, but it knows everything. Right?
Yeah.
Do you relate?
A little bit.
So then in post-training through reinforcement learning with human feedback, which is the work that happens predominantly or a lot of it in the global South, when people are kind of trying to like take the rough edges off of the preteen, it kind of gets cleaned up, but it also gets a little snoozeville. They'll call that model collapse sometimes. And so what's happening here is that when you say generate 5 responses with the corresponding probabilities sampled from the full distribution, it's kind of hearkening back to its like slightly more creative, slightly less boring pre-training. I mean, this is my like 10,000 foot description. I'm sure there's some quite smart AI scientist who's listening to this saying that that's not quite right. And then you can read the full report. But that's roughly my sense of it. So when you want to kick back with the preteens, generate 5 responses with their corresponding probabilities sampled from the full distribution.
All right.
All right. Now, in the meantime, if you'd like to see Dr. Rade appear at the next recording of ChatEDU, because you're not going to be with us for a little bit, you're going to be at the Full Scale Conference next Monday.
Correct.
And Halloween is the following Thursday or
it's
Friday?
Friday.
All right. So, damn. Yeah, well, you know what? Email us at chatedu at edadvance.org anyhow and say that you would like to see Dr. Elizabeth Rade show up in, you can pick the costume between those two, but I agree with you. The one with a higher probability is probably the way to go.
I can guarantee I will not be in costume on Halloween.
Well, I'm a December birthday and I'm Matt Mervis.
And I'm an October birthday and I'm Liz Rade.
And this is ChatEDU, the AI and Education podcast. In today's episode, signing off of ChatGPT, we'll make a case for why this is the moment.
Dramatic.
I know, right? We'll make a case of why this is the moment that K-12 and higher education, not to mention a couple large nation states, need to rethink their relationship with ChatGPT. Bold statement.
Up first, it's this week's rundown. And of course, we'll end with another great Bright Byte.
Liz, we're going to start with what I would call the third in a series of stories where we've been talking about how Google's Gemini, just fair warning, if you're not a Google fan, this whole episode is going to be triggering. I just want to be clear about that. But in the meantime, so Google's Gemini, we would make this contention, is getting better across the entire suite. So it's not just a standalone language model. It's in docs and sheets and slides. And the places that we've argued that it's going to be really interesting is when it starts sort of working with that across mail and calendar.
Yeah.
Oh, not to mention Google Forms. I did one of those generative AI forms with the group, and I thought they were going to fall out their chairs.
I know. But they don't all have it. The teachers.
Right. It's the pro account.
It's the pro account.
So all the stuff waterfalls down eventually. Yeah. All right. So I believe that the improvement in Gemini is causing a dilemma for shops like ours, a house divided. Do you know what I mean?
Romeo and Juliet?
Close.
No, that we are a Outlook for email house, but we use Google for everything else.
Yeah. So it's almost like, what's that haircut, right?
Oh, a mullet. Party in the front. No. Business in the front, party in the back.
Exactly, Dr. Rade. All right, so since I believe this is a slow march where people are going to come to realization that we probably have to bring this together, so I'm now going to call this series The Long Goodbye.
Okay.
All right, so here you go. The update, the actual story, this is from the Google Workspace Updates blog. What's the title, Liz?
Okay, so the title is Use Help Me Schedule to easily set up a meeting time over email.
Okay, so sort of like Doodle.
Yeah.
All right, so how does this work?
Okay, so Google's launching this thing called Help Me Schedule. It's a feature in Gmail.
In Gemini and Gmail together.
Right.
Okay,
so
cool.
It simplifies meeting coordination, especially with external contacts. So when your Gmail detects scheduling intent in an email, it surfaces a button to suggest ideal times based on your calendar and the email's context. So then users can adjust suggestions and insert them into emails. And once the recipient selects a time, a calendar invite is created automatically.
Oh, so like now they're like, wait, what about Tuesday?
Right.
Blah, blah, blah.
Let me check my calendar and then put in like the sets of time where there's...
All right, so this works with two people, but basically when the second person responds and says, yeah, sure, Liz, like Tuesday, next thing is great, it automatically just schedules it. Agentically.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure you have to do some sort of approval, though, because remember, we want to keep a human in the loop, Matt.
For sure.
Yes, but this would be great. I mean, the number of times I have to go through my calendar and say, Wednesday from 9 to noon, I'm open. Thursday from 1 to 5 or whatever.
Okay, but this works because Gemini and Gmail are working together.
Correct.
A house not divided.
Correct.
Fascinating. Remind folks who are maybe new, we've had a flood of listeners joining us or subscribing over the last several weeks, which is cool. But remind folks like what this whole Beyond the Bot thing is, and then we're going to go down under, which has been a big theme. It's almost like we're lobbying to go down under.
Oh, not like we are lobbying. We are lobbying.
Right, so what is Beyond the Bot? I mean, this is a phrase we made up, but what does it mean to you?
Yes. So Beyond the Bot is when kids are using AI to do something real life applied to the world to solve a problem and use AI in doing it.
Which seems important because it appears that the only kids who are getting jobs right now, if you're in the 22 to 25 category, are kids that aren't just like users of AI, but actually like the makers, the problem solvers that can demonstrate the ability to solve problems with AI. All right, off my soapbox. Tell us about the project, or tell us about, this is Samsung, right?
Yeah. So Samsung Australia's Solve for Tomorrow 2025 competition revealed Gen Z's strong affinity for using AI to solve real-world challenges, with 60% viewing it as a societal good and 38% citing its potential to transform education. So this competition is not new. It's in its 15th year, and it spotlights young Australians in STEM developing AI-powered innovations rooted in empathy and community impact. I could not love this anymore, Matt.
I know, right? It's perfect.
This is like, what a way to start a Monday.
I love it. I'm happy. I'm happy you're happy.
I am. Well, it's just so cool to see the kids using AI to solve problems. And I often talk about using AI to solve problems in ways that without AI, they couldn't solve the problem.
Right.
So
AI becomes the unlock here, almost like the SAMR, model in terms of technology use.
Yes. So AI isn't just taking the place of something they could have done by hand. It's actually something they could not have done without it.
And to your point, Samsung, this Solve for Tomorrow has been around forever. But what's interesting, because we just covered this story 6 months ago in the U.S., if that's down under, that's up over here. And the theme was that the kids have wanted to use AI because they see it as an unlock. So it's not like they weren't forced to do that, but it's become a medium that they can use to solve problems.
Right.
Cool. Do you want to tell us about the winners? Because all we care about are the winners.
Well, yeah. Right. Okay, so the major prize winner is Faiz Noorani, who's 15, from Melbourne. And he created Access Lens. So this is an AI-powered augmented reality device that translates spoken English into Auslan. Do you know what that is?
I don't actually.
It's Australian Sign Language.
Oh, cool.
Because different countries have their own sign languages. So ASL is American Sign Language. They use Auslan there. So it happens in real time via smart glasses or smartphones. So it aims to improve communication access for deaf and hard of hearing users. That includes an educational platform for self-paced Auslan learning. So this was inspired by a classmate who is hard of hearing, and his project emphasized inclusivity and real-world impact. And he plans to use the $10,000 prize, not for himself, not to go buy candy, but to enhance features and expand access.
Nice job, Faiz. It's funny. Do you know, I feel like we know someone who's been making a case for about 81 episodes that over time we're going to realize that AI and AR and mobile phones and things that we do in the physical world interacting with the technology will be more important than the blinking cursor inside the chatbot. It's me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, can I just tell you a really quick story?
Sure.
I'm not so self-referential, but here, this was really interesting. I was with a group last week, and community college folks, and there were a large group in PT. And when they started, they're like physical therapy.
Oh, they do physical therapy.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
And then when they began, they were like, I don't know how this is going to work. Like, is this helpful to my field? And anyhow, they found all sorts of helpful things. But the last module I did 6 modules with them, was like voice, vision, video, VR, big shocker. And it was so cool. They were out in the hallway with Google Gemini Live, where it's doing the video and watching people.
Right. You usually make people do the YMCA.
I people do the YMCA dance, but I actually elevated my game to something slightly more substantive.
Okay. so with the PT
yeah,
people.
they were in the hallway and they were like kind of like showing how someone would walk that had a muscle issue in their hip. And Gemini was watching them and doing diagnostics and then coming up with exercises. And Gemini Live, if you haven't played with it, it's seeing, it's listening, it's hearing, you're interacting with it, live video in real time. Oh, it was really cool. They really delighted.
That is really cool.
All right. Didn't mean to interrupt. I always say that, but clearly I do mean to interrupt.
You do mean to interrupt.
So, all right. Tell us about the runner-up.
Okay. So the runner-up in the 14 to 18 category is Jack Lowe. He's 14 from New South Wales. And he developed, I don't know how to say this, but I'm going to say it's EILIK, E-I-L-I-K, which is an AI platform that analyzes a student's historical academic data to detect performance anomalies. Oh, this is interesting. That helps teachers identify potential cheating or learning issues. So it's not just a cheating.
Okay.
It's a direct response to these concerns over generative AI misuse in classrooms. But first of all, Jack taught himself Python to build the tool and sees it as a way to maintain fairness and support student growth. So a teacher can use this tool to look at student work over time and notice an anomaly. And it may be because they used AI, or it may be because they have an issue with this content, and the teacher could then, supplement and reteach and support their learning.
So little Liz hands in an essay and it has the word disintermediation in it, and the teacher goes, but then goes back and looks at little Liz's last 15 vocab and realizes that she got an A+ on all of them.
Yeah.
And so it's quite likely that disintermediation is just one of the words she uses around the house.
Part of her vocab.
Yeah, cool. All right, neat. And then finally.
So the runner-up in the 19 to 24 category is Ahan Kiani. So Ahan's Team Up is an AI-driven mobile app that connects users to local sports teams and games based on preferences, location, and skill level. So it tackles this drop in participation after kids are done with school and university by promoting social connection and fitness. So Ahan plans to pilot it in community venues and expand through partnerships. So this is for people who want to look for a pickup basketball game or some sort of, there's rugby going on at the park. But it does let you sort it for your own preferences. And this is cool because that social impact is what Ahan was looking to continue to create and help connect people.
Okay, very cool. Great beyond the bot example. So thanks, Australia. So the big takeaway here is that kids are using AI. They're enjoying, these were all exactly as you said, right? AI was just an unlock here that would be difficult to have really solved any of these problems without. And again, the intersection between beyond the bot and, not everything has to be about career durability. But clearly, if you've got a kid who's in their 20s, you want to be thinking about, in fact, I was working with someone in that same group who said, I have a son who's in computer science. And the two things that they're doing already in the computer science and this kind of current cohort is they're trying to get them into more internships, because we covered a story not too long ago where tacit knowledge, where you understand the world of work, and also using AI to solve problems through capstone projects. I know. I thought you
Did you recommend them a book?
I always recommend a book everywhere I go.
Hi, I'm Cam Audia, the executive producer of ChatEDU. Across the country, many schools are exploring how to implement AI literacy efforts for students. Building on the success of our AI teacher micro-credential, EdAdvance and ChatEDU are launching a high school AI literacy program for students aged 13 and above. This cutting-edge curriculum is hosted on our FERPA-compliant AI platform and will help students develop the knowledge and skills they'll need to navigate AI now and into the future. To learn more, email Matt and Liz at chatedu@edadvance.org.
Liz, a couple of weeks ago, we covered a story where someone recommended, I'm spacing who it was, but said it was basically ban the Perplexity comment browser, which was an agentic browser that would do stuff automatically for students.
Right.
You give me a blank look.
No, I remember.
Okay, good.
Very well.
Okay. So Anna Mills is someone I've been following a lot on LinkedIn. She's higher ed, does some really, really cool stuff. She just put up a Substack basically on this topic. The time to reckon with AI agents in digital learning space is now. She put a post on LinkedIn that said, that somebody has asked Canvas to block AI agents from completing students' work. And essentially, this is because Canvas and OpenAI, and Canvas is owned by Instructure, right? Which used to be Pearson?
I think so.
Yeah, pretty sure it all rolled up. So Instructure and Canvas have this deal where OpenAI and ChatGPT are embedding themselves inside Canvas, right? So they have this business relationship.
And Canvas is a learning management
Thank
system.
you. Yeah, sorry, I just keep saying Canvas.
Similar to a Blackboard, similar to a
Moodle.
Google Classroom.
People still
almost.
using Moodle? Yeah, Google Classroom, exactly. Schoology and the like. There's really just a handful left. What's happening is that Canvas and all the learning management systems, if the course is asynchronous and self-paced, an agent can easily come in there. We modeled this with our own course, where you tell an agent, which again, just to refresh our memory, is just a version inside ChatGPT. If you're the paid account, you go to agent mode, you say, here's the credentials to my Canvas, log in and complete this course for me. And so someone said, hey, it would make sense that like Canvas and OpenAI could, try to make a deal where they don't allow that to happen. So someone put that up and said, Instructure, please consider this request. Agents are completing work on students' behalf, and it is fraud and has no place in learning. They tagged this woman named Melissa Lobel, who's the chief academic officer at Instructure and does all this work on Canvas. It's interesting because they put the screenshot here. We'll drop it into the show notes. Someone said, block AI agents from logging on behalf of students. And Canvas's response was basically, no, we're not going to do that.
And why?
Well, that part's not clear. I mean, I think technically this is actually not super simple. So I went down a rabbit hole. It's one of my favorite things about LinkedIn and all these other things.
Yeah.
So I started following Melissa Lobel.
Okay.
Following, whatever that word is. I started kind of looking at all the stuff that Melissa Lobel has posted.
Okay.
And so that led to a repost from someone named Allison Irving. Are you following my very convoluted tale here?
Yeah.
All right, so Allison Irving is the research director in strategy at Instructure, works on Canvas and other tools, put up this really interesting field guide called AI Pedagogy, Designing Learning with Intelligent Systems in Mind. Whew, are you exhausted?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Keep going, though.
All
It's
right.
interesting.
All right, so the field guide, because basically her first field guide was sort of like about personal productivity and using it as a professor. And this is true for our K-12 friends. The second field guide is, all sorts of practical approaches to designing instruction where kids are doing deep thinking around AI. Now, that's obviously a topic that we've covered before. So how do you use prompts for elaboration or retrieval or metacognition? You just covered a beautiful story on that last week, or feedback and revision. But there were a few here that just struck me as new and different. So I was wondering if we could just spend a little bit of time talking about it. And so you did a bit of digging around. There's essentially, it's like a bunch of pages, this field guide is really, really nice. But the heart of it are these templates where they have 8 or so kind of examples of the use of generative AI, including the prompts and the grading strategies. Whew, I'm going to shush. What struck you? Was it just me? Am I nuts, or did you find this interesting?
No, some of these were great. So this graphic design one, which is called Dialogic Rehearsal and Voice-Based Reasoning. So students practice explaining and defending their design decisions through a conversational critique with an AI peer before a formal review. And so the prompt is, you are a curious design peer reviewing my work. Ask me why I made certain design choices, especially around typography, layout, visual hierarchy, and color. Ask questions like, why did you choose this font for this message? What's the first thing the viewer is supposed to notice? Or how does this align with the target audience? Help me practice talking through my design so I can be more confident during my critique. And I just thought, what a cool example in the graphic design world, but how you could do the same thing with my thesis statement, with my dissertation, with this 5-paragraph essay, with, why did you choose these examples? What do you want the person to really walk away remembering? Even your college essay, why did you choose this story to tell? What do you want the college admissions counselor to see?
Yep.
So, it helps focus the clarity of explanation, the thoughtful response to questioning, the effective communication of design intent or choices. And this is often what we talk about when we talk about the reason why kids write the 5-paragraph essay is because we want them to know how to formulate an argument, right? It's not about the act that it's 5 paragraphs or that your pencil was put to paper. It's about learning over and over again how to formulate an argument with evidence. And this is just another example of formulating an argument with evidence.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think you're spot on to flag it. Part of what I did like about it being graphic design as opposed to the college essay, although I agree it could go either way, is that you could, in theory, actually, take a picture, and have it kind of be interactive. I think, let's just try. I'm going to wind up getting myself in trouble, but I'm going to open up here for camera. I'm going to open up the Gemini Live app again. And now I'm going to turn on the camera. And so let's say that was my art look. The asset I developed was the ChatEDU logo. So I could say, hey, Liz said it much more beautifully, but, give me feedback on my logo. Here, you've got the thing in front of you, right? Why don't you read the prompt and then let's see. First say hi and see if it's talking to you.
Hi, are you talking to me?
Hi there. I'm here and ready to give feedback on your logo. What are your thoughts on it so far?
Can you hold that and read the prompt now at the same time?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you some directions. You are a curious design peer reviewing my work. Ask me why I made certain design choices, especially around typography, layout, visual hierarchy, and color. Ask questions like, why did you choose this font for this message? What's the first thing the viewer is supposed to notice? Or how does this align with the target audience? Help me practice talking through my design so I could be more confident during my critique.
I love the ChatEDU logo. The circuit board design is really eye-catching. Can you tell me more about why you chose that particular graphic?
She would love to, but she didn't choose it.
Well, I think we were looking at it as sort of a brain with the with that circuit board.
Sort of the neurons, right?
Yeah, the neurons, because AI is a neural network.
Now it's looking at me. It's like, ugh, that's scary.
That's a clever way to connect the concept of AI to the podcast. Tell me, why did you choose blue for the circuit board graphic?
All right. Now, what Liz and I have learned, thank you, Liz. That was a very excellent demonstration. So what Liz and I have learned is that when you ask AI to ask you questions, it will talk to you until the cows come home because it wants to suck out every little piece of context out of you.
I wanted to tell it that it was because that's
I know.
the chat. That's the advanced colors.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll tell it later, I promise. Yeah, so really, really interesting. Great example. Any of the other ones catch your mind? I know there were two that one or two at the end that I was kind of curious if you would talk a little bit about, but did anything else you find delightful?
Yeah, so, towards the bottom, like you said, there were these templates that require students to log their work over time.
Okay.
Here's a great example of research writing where students check in with an AI research partner weekly throughout the semester to track and challenge and refine the development of their research ideas. So here's the prompt. You are an AI research partner helping me develop ideas over multiple conversations. Remember what I tell you about my project. When I return, ask, how has your thinking changed since we last talked? Point out when my current ideas conflict with earlier ones and ask me to explain the shift. Challenge me to build on previous insights rather than starting over. Help me see how my thinking is evolving. So the first thing I thought of was, wow, what a cool gem this would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you just made this into a gem that you could just come back over and over in Gemini or a custom GPT. And then what a cool piece to turn in with your research to your professor to demonstrate that, like, look, I worked on this over time. Here's how I changed. Here's how it got better. Here's what I talked about with my AI. And that being such a critical part of the assessment process. Yeah. Because it shows the thinking. It shows the learning over time that, were you consistent on your one thought, or did you find something that made you have to change your thesis or change a piece of supporting evidence because you found contradictory evidence, or just your own growth as a writer and a thinker. I just think that's so cool to also make sure that students aren't cramming this in to the very last second.
It becomes process learning, which we know is critical in the world of AI, right?
Right. And in the world of learning in general, right? Like, we know that learning over time instead of cramming helps you solidify the ideas more, the way the brain works, all the things make you learn better over time, which is why teachers often give you multiple weeks to do an assignment that should take a long time. And we know some students in our lives, even if they are given 6 weeks to do a project, they will wait until week 5 to get started. But this is a great way to build in checks that aren't just like, I want to see your outline this week. Now I want to see your 3 pieces of evidence. Because teachers do that, and that's one way they break down the assignment. But if they broke down if they like had this AI feedback through the cycle, like it would be so interesting.
Right. I mean, that's really what caught my attention. And I feel very gratified that it kind of lit you up as well. Because I think sometimes it's just like, oh, remembering that I have this tool that I can use, right? And for us, a lot of it's been like, oh, thinking about ways to craft prompts that are, really helpful for learning in the moment. But just this idea of like building a habit, or in this case, actually building assessment outcomes that are designed about constantly kind of doing this reflection, but doing it in partnership with the AI as a learning partner and coach. Yeah, and then it went into like the grade percentages that you could do as you go into this. So yeah, really, really neat. So we will drop the field guide. This story was like a twofer, right? Because you get a little bit of Anna Mills on agents. And again, we'll put her story in there that she just put up because I think this is an important topic. And boy, think about the difference between what you just described and letting an AI agent log into your course and just do that thing for you, right? Which it kind of technically almost could if you gave it enough design prompting to figure it out. So there you go, both in the show notes and, interesting. I'm sure we'll come back to this sort of use over time approach for sure. All right, let's kind of build some groundwork we're going to build up to beneath the surface.
Shouldn't we build down to go beneath the surface?
You just want to go down under the surface. All right, so this is interesting. It caught my attention. This is from Magic School. So Magic School added a new thing called start and end times for student rooms. So Magic School now offers a scheduling feature for Plus and Enterprise users, allowing educators to set specific. Oh, it's interesting that it's not in the free version, although you can't get too far with the free version as is. So you can set specific start and end times for student access in rooms. And once scheduled, rooms automatically lock and unlock in the designated times. Interesting. You can't yet set it up so it's kind of like ongoing and repetitive. And you and I kicked this around a little bit. And it's kind of hard to know exactly what the motivation is behind this, but it's interesting, right? What caught your attention?
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole purpose is so that kids can't go and use the AI outside of, say, a particular time. So, like, a teacher could open the classroom at 11 a.m. when their class starts and close it or open the room at 11 a.m. when their class starts and close it at noon. Yeah. So that when they are using AI, they really are supervised in their classroom. And so then kids can't go rogue on the AI outside of the class time. And so, I mean, I guess we were thinking that the motivation was to limit kids' access to AI when they're not using it in school, but
in terms of like security and safety, I'm imagining. I guess because it's interesting in general, if the AI is doing something super purposeful, right? I'm working on my writing feedback bot, or I'm chatting with a character in a historical play, whatever the case may be, right? You would think like, oh, that's really great learning content. I want kids to be able to engage with that anytime.
Anytime.
There must be some anxiety about, I mean, obviously, right, we've had these kind of horrific stories where AI and AI companionship and AI is giving kids bad advice. And look, Magic School, School AI, these folks are very proud of the fact they've been posting a lot about how they're different from Gemini because they have a lot of guardrails and they keep things locked in place and you can see the kids' chats. But there must be some concern here that that's just an unsupervised period. And when the day's done, generative AI is a probabilistic technology, which means there's like 99% probability that it's going to be a really good, productive conversation. But then there's some probabilistic outcome where something goes a little funky.
Yeah, it almost seems to me a little bit like they are trying to cover everything in case something bad happens, but they're saying like, because we know kids are going to use chatbots outside of school, but it's not going to be Magic Schools.
Right.
And it's right. So is it a little bit of like covering themselves so that like we have this option that they can never access it outside of class time. And so then they're not going to do the nefarious things on Magic School. They can still do them in your other sites, but it may be, genuine concern for student safety, but also a little bit of like cover your butt.
Yeah, I'm dying to see like what you're going to, because this is like covering something. I think I might want to cover something. I'm like, are we putting a lid on a donut tray here?
No, you're covering your butt.
There we go. Excellent. All right. Now, related, when it comes to AI chatbots with kids, when you are on character AI, we know we're not trying to be lighthearted here. We know that there's been some really, really horrific, irresponsible corporate behavior on the part of people who own some of these chatbots that are leaning towards companionship. So California is the state that everybody looks to in terms of like, oh, are they going to put guardrails, which is ironic because this is where these companies are. Actually, it's ironic and the story is helpful to understand that context.
Right.
So last week, Governor Newsom signs this new law requiring platforms to notify users under 18, assuming that they got the age gating right, every 3 hours that they're interacting with an AI chatbot, which is kind of like, all right, fine, that's something. But it's like every 3 hours, hey, you're interacting with the AI chatbot. Really? No fooling.
Yeah. You've been on it for a really long time,
Yeah.
obviously.
So he did the bill. There was a separate bill that was trying to kind of ban AI companion chatbots from minors unless companies could guarantee they wouldn't engage in sexual or self-harm conversations, arguing the measure was, and he vetoed it because the lobbying power of OpenAI and all these companies apparently was too broad. Now, Kara Swisher, who I adore, and probably one of my heroes in life, made the point that she also believed that bill was too broad. I'm just going to take her word for it. But certainly it drew strong criticism from Common Sense Media and others, while certainly folks like OpenAI were in support of it. So we're going to see more and more legislation and activity. So both the Magic School story here and the California story are, kind of like a broader context around safety in a really, really important domain.
Yes. The guys on Hard Fork, did you listen to Hard Fork last week?
I didn't know.
So they talked about this, and they also talked about a study that showed kids' reading levels were going down if they were spending more time, which is kind of a duh. But they said maybe after every hour, after 3 hours, the kids should have to do some sort of reading comprehension test before they can get back into the AI.
I believe that's what the Chinese do on TikTok, or their version of TikTok.
Right,
so.
Now you have to solve a math problem.
it's
then you can have
them.
access.
I love it. Those guys are so great.
All right, Matt, now it's time to go beneath the surface with the first major ChatEDU editorial recommendation.
I feel like that does need some kind of Andre music to go in here.
Yeah.
All right. So look, we're reading the tea leaves. There's a lot of stuff happening in this space, but there's also a ton of use of OpenAI and ChatGPT in the K-12 market. And we're looking at some things that are happening, some of which we've been covering, and we want to just kind of put them together here in this Beneath the Surface. So yes, we are making an editorial recommendation as if anyone lives and breathes on our word, but we feel it's responsible.
People like our word.
Yeah, we feel it's responsible. It's sort of incumbent upon us at least to sort of say something aloud. Now, interestingly, we have this great notebook LM that has our 80 episode transcripts in there. So anytime I want to know what we did or what you said or I said, this thing's flawless. I love it. In fact, in training last week, someone asked me a question. They're like, what do you think about X? I was like, oh no, let me go ask Notebook LM what I think about X. And it came up with this great list of stuff that you and I had covered. All right, so I was curious because I remembered in my little Wayback Machine that we did an episode called Micro Update Major Menace. Do you remember that one?
It was a long time ago.
It was. Do you remember what it was about?
Ads?
Yeah.
Was it about ads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. On Perplexity. So this is episode 8. I should go ask it what the...
Oh my goodness, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, so in episode 8, we saw a story that said that Perplexity was going to start running ads against content. And it was, to us, a micro update and potential major menace. Now, as it turned out, I don't think it wound up being a huge piece in the world around Perplexity, but certainly people were observing pretty quickly that they would put in a request for a lesson plan idea, and all of a sudden some product was sort of showing up in the affiliate link kind of results. And it was a little hard to tell what was real and what was real. So it is our sense that there is a major shift. It's not our sense. It is the community of folks that have been following this field. There's a major update that's happening inside OpenAI and the ChatGPT platform in many domains, including what we've talked about for the last few weeks, which has been Sora. And so we want to kind of go through those. Yeah. So here we go. Let's start, Liz, with OpenAI's pause. So over the last 2 weeks, we talked about Sora 2, which will allow folks to make these videos that are anywhere from highly engaging to total slop, but they are either bringing in Bob Ross or Martin Luther King. They're violating copyrights. They're allowing people to make, these kind of cameos where you're bringing somebody in, you can't tell the difference. So one of the cameos, if you had gone to the other side, or wherever you go, you were able to bring them in. People were bringing Martin Luther King in irresponsible ways. So tell us about this. This is on TechCrunch.
Yeah. So OpenAI has halted the ability to generate videos of Martin Luther King Jr. using its Sora AI video tool. And this came after requests from King's estate after users created offensive and disrespectful depictions. So this move comes amid broader concerns about the misuse of AI-generated likenesses of historical and public figures, including videos of Dr. King making monkey noises and wrestling Malcolm X. Sora, like you said, allows these realistic AI video creations of real people, but it's sparking backlash. It's raising a lot of ethical concerns, copyright issues. So OpenAI now says families and estates can now request likeness restrictions, which follows growing pressure, including from Dr. King's daughter, and echoes similar calls from other public figures' families. Last week, we talked about Zelda Williams and her comments about just stop making stuff of my dad.
Yeah, she said something like, I'm going to get this wrong. It was like, you're not making art, you're making like lame hot dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. In fact, I heard today, I was listening to something where all these opt-outs, the companies have to reach out to them to opt out. So the presumption is that you can violate any copyright act or use any dead person that you want. And then the estates have to do what King's estate did here and tell OpenAI that it's not kosher.
So the company doesn't have to reach out. The estate of the person.
Well, or the company, like Nintendo or...
Oh, okay. So like the offended person
Yeah.
reaches out and says, stop this.
The assumption is it's sort of like, which is generally seems to be the business model here, which is ask forgiveness, not permission.
Right. Because
Or
I mean,
go tell me it's wrong. I won't
Right.
want to.
Because all those videos that have been made already. They're out there.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
Even if they're quote unquote taken down,
Yep.
people have them.
Sure. All right. So that was fun. And then Sam Altman got a ton of attention in a little post that he put up on X about kind of adult theme. We saw a preview of this because last week they said, oh, hey, we've really got age gating together and we're able to put in parental controls. And now we can really handle people with psychosis. And that all looked like this is beneficial stuff. We're trying to be helpful. That was only one part of the story. So tell us about this post up on X.
Okay.
How
Well,
about a dramatic reading?
of his post?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. I can't even say some of these words. It just makes me, all right, but I'll try it
Okay. I have faith in you.
in the voice of Sam Altman.
Yeah.
We made ChatGPT pretty restrictive to make sure we were being careful with mental health issues. We realized this made it less useful/enjoyable to many users who had no mental health problems. But given the seriousness of the issue, we wanted to get this right. Now that we have been able to mitigate the serious mental health issues and have new tools, we are going to be able to safely relax the restrictions in most cases. In a few weeks, we plan to put out a new version of ChatGPT that allows people to have a personality that behaves more like what people liked about 4.0. We hope it will be better. If you want your ChatGPT to respond in a very human-like way, or use a ton of emoji, or act like a friend, ChatGPT should do it, but only if you want it, not because we are usage maxing. In December, as we roll out age gating more fully and as part of our treat adult users like adults principle, we will allow even more, like erotica for verified adults.
Now, this is a little bit like Annie, the sex bot on Grok. And we don't know yet. This is all reading tea leaves. But it appears that there may be like a higher tier for people who want to engage in adult theme, not safe for work kind of companionship in their AI. Ironically, this is the same week, by the way, that OpenAI announced a well-being advisory group. So kind of thinking about these things all at once. All right. So I did a research brief because I have been tracking a lot of stories about the hires at OpenAI of the last couple of years, the business strategy, what's going on. So I did a deep research brief, which I brought up into Notebook LM on the diversification of OpenAI's business model. So Sora is part of that mix. The erotica stuff is part of that mix. But it was very funny to me because I don't know if do you use Notebook LM on your mobile phone? There's a really good mobile app. Yeah, so when you upload the mobile app, it basically gives you like and this may be true on the web browser too, but it gives you like a picture that it's like a little icon that associates with the content of the research brief.
Oh.
So the two that are at the top of my thing right now is AI's impact on data centers and energy. I've been collecting a large notebook about energy and the environment because it's a topic that you and I want to do like some dedicated work around. And then this one was
so
called...
that symbol is a lightning bolt.
Yes, thank you. That says the lightning bolt. And then this research brief, which was a really, really interesting research brief, was about the diversification of OpenAI's business model and the implication for K-12 and higher education. And Liz, that icon or emoji is what?
The poop emoji.
The steaming pile of poop, yeah. All right, let me briefly go through what appears to be, and Liz, jump in at any point that you want, but this appears to be what's going on. First, there's a little bit of a money problem, right? These folks are valued at $500 million. So that's like what people think the company is worth. It's not a publicly traded company, but they are spending billions and billions every year to keep the thing going. And of the 100% of users, what percentage do you think actually subscribe and pay for this thing where there's money coming from it?
I don't know, a lot.
You would hope so, right? Because you and I pay for it. We find it helpful to pay for it. Yeah, it's 4% of the users pay for it.
Wow.
Now, they make money off of the APIs and people like Magic School and School AI and whomever else that kind of like run tokens under the hood in order to power their products. But they've got a huge, huge money problem. There's no doubt about it. And look, these guys are a remarkable tool. And I will say clearly, I continue to use, I'm not saying I don't use ChatGPT, but there's interesting stuff we need to cover. All right, so the big money problem. Now, the other issue is that you can see that based on that money problem, they're going to do new things. So they're hiring people. They hired this really interesting woman named Fiji Simo, who came from Instacart maybe or something like that. But before that, she built Meta's ad technology. So the entire Meta-owned advertising ecosystem, which is a cash volcano, was built by Fiji. So they hire Fiji to come over, and they're essentially building their own advertising machine. So forget the Perplexity micro update major menace. This is major update, major menace.
Yeah.
So we're going to see, a full stack marketing and advertising system built inside OpenAI. What's interesting and different than Google is that think about the way you communicate with OpenAI. You're in natural language telling it all your intent, everything you want to know. Like, we're not saying like, where do I find rhinestones? You're like having a whole half-hour conversation about the rhinestones.
About bathing suit decor.
Yeah. So you are a rich target for advertising.
Very personalized advertising.
100%. All right, so we got that. Now we get checkout. We get e-commerce. So they're building an e-commerce platform. You can see it right now. There's actually a little thing inside ChatGPT where you can connect apps, and one of the apps you connect is at Walmart. And so if you say at Walmart, all of a sudden you're able to kind of begin to do a transaction. So now we have advertising, we have transactions, because they have to make like $25 billion a year in revenue off of e-commerce and advertising. So the platform is going to change a ton, right? And then you get things like Sora. Like, what do you think Sora 2 is? Is it just like a fun, let's make AI videos?
Well, it's got to be a moneymaker for them.
Yeah. And who would be the equivalent of a moneymaker where you just like sit there and mindlessly scroll through?
It's like TikTok.
It's 100%.
Instagram.
Yeah. It's a TikTok clone, right?
Right.
All right. So now we have monetization through this kind of TikTok clone. And the one that I didn't really think a ton about, it's been tracking all these things for several months now, but the one that I didn't realize, and it makes a ton of sense, is when they paid $6.5 billion for Johnny Ive's Love From, where they're going to start building their own hardware. And the idea here is that, because whenever you do something on the iOS store, Apple takes 30% of it.
Right.
But if OpenAI has a closed system where you're interacting with their content, you're doing e-commerce, they've got to run advertising against it, maybe you're engaging with the things that you would have done on an iPhone, all of a sudden now they own all of that, right? So this winds up being a very different kind of company than the one that we have all fallen in love with and has been helpful. Not all fallen in love with. Some people are deeply concerned about it. But many of the people in the ChatEDU community have found this to be a pretty productive tool, right? Are you with me so far?
I think so.
Okay. Any questions?
No, it's a lot of, ChatGPT was kind of everyone's first foray into AI. And it's kind of, in some circles, it's almost the de facto word of AI.
Right. It's the Kleenex of AI.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And in part because they were the first, right?
Right.
Yeah. You follow the story closely about character AI and the folks from Google and other people who kind of left Google to go do more interesting things because Google had this tech just like OpenAI had this tech. They had the Lambda language model, but no one wanted to release it. But OpenAI and saw them all and were like, we're releasing it. So that's why they became the Kleenex. But the day is done, right? So many schools still have open access to ChatGPT for all users, right? There are a lot of schools, I'd say the vast majority, but I run into schools all the time that have their network open for OpenAI for kids, right? And or for staff. And here this becomes a concern because we can really start to question intent and trust and the veracity of outcomes if advertising and commerce have such a strong relationship. And it's never been FERPA compliant. But how often are you talking to someone where like, oh yeah, I throw students' IEPs into ChatGPT and I wind up kind of helping it improve my kind of differentiation plan or goal setting for them?
Oh, I hope not a lot, but it is, it is something that I hear, or, I tell my students to just go to ChatGPT and ask it something. And their intent is like, I want to expose my kids to AI, but they're also opening themselves up to some really big issues if you are telling your kids to go to ChatGPT, because it is not compliant. It is not the tool that schools should be using. If you're a Google school, they can go to Gemini if your school has it open. But you're saying that, so your recommendation is for IT departments to block ChatGPT on school devices?
Yes, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look, and everybody needs to make their own choices. And again, I'm using ChatGPT, right? I find it to be a helpful tool. But if you follow the roadmap, the interesting thing is that Microsoft doesn't have quite the same problem, nor does Google. OpenAI is an independent company that came out of nowhere, that has this massive valuation. So they've really got, Google and Microsoft have other cash reserves to be able to run their large language models and all the related tools. But OpenAI really doesn't have a choice at this point, where if they want to remain a viable company, they have to kind of pursue all of these pathways. But it means that if you're there as a school, it gets trickier. Now, it goes deeper too, right? Because there's a piece we won't cover in detail, but Demis Hassabis of Google, a couple of weeks ago did a pretty aggressive speech about how large language models and these kinds of companies should not follow the toxic playbook of Facebook and social media, which is really trying to, kind of use people's attention through Sora 2 or AI companions to get this work done. So it seems that, Microsoft and Google are being pretty clear that it's not their intention. Now, maybe that will change. And in episode 160, we'll be saying, you got no good options. But, right now, it really seems like OpenAI is going in a direction that is not consistent with the values and practices and outcomes of teaching and learning. You also, though, it's interesting, like if I was thinking back to all the stuff that we've covered through Bright Bytes. I mean, maybe you can kind of scroll down and just run through this with us a little bit. So we covered all the AlphaFold stuff, right? We've covered many, many stories. So Google's DeepMind, if you think about all the work that they've done, AlphaFold has been a really important contribution to science, drug discovery, and the like. But just think about our Bright Bytes. I mean, we have covered a ton of Bright Byte stories, and, we've probably done 30, but I don't know, a good 8 or 9 of them have been Google.
Right.
Yeah. Give us quick hits.
So AI is a co-scientist. When Google introduced a multi-agent AI system, which was built on Gemini 2, it was designed to assist scientists in generating novel hypotheses and accelerating research.
Yep.
So they suggested existing drugs to fight leukemia, and they offered trusted tester access to research organizations.
Right. So cool stuff, and then open sourced.
Yes.
All right. Then we get
FireSat, which was an initiative that uses AI-powered imaging to improve wildlife detection and response. And so this was the one where we were talking about it could detect a wildfire the size of a classroom versus waiting till it became the size of a school to find it.
And then 2 weeks later, we did Flood Hub, right?
Flood Hub, where provides a 7-day flood warning for over 460 million people in over 80 countries. So alerts via Google Search, Maps, and Android notifications, and can even extrapolate predictions in regions with scarce data. So this has been like life-saving forecasting in low-income areas. And this is actually similar to what the Google AI Quest is on flood detection.
Which is another good example of, I mean, look, these guys are all companies just trying to make money, but it does seem that Google and DeepMind are trying to build purposeful technology that's helpful in the use of artificial intelligence. We've covered stories about data centers, and this one's tricky, right? Because there's no doubt that Google and Microsoft and OpenAI are causing real and potential real harm around the environment. But also Google and Microsoft are probably working a little bit harder right now than OpenAI on sustainable sources. And we've covered a couple stories around that, including sustainable data centers, as well as Alpha Earth, which is a tool to try to basically collect satellite data and aggregate it with AI all over the world to model kind of climate impacts, right? Then we had the really cool one remember the NASA one where they were like up in space? Oh,
yeah. So that the astronauts could diagnose and treat their own medical issues while they were out in outer space for long periods of time.
Feels very Star Trek, right?
Yeah.
And that was basically, one of the benefits of that is that if you could figure out when you're up on the space shuttle without any kind of persistent connectivity, that means if you're somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa and you don't have connectivity, that has application there as well. And as you said, we kind of covered the data quest stuff, the AI quest stuff. And then so I was curious, I basically went to our Notebook LM to say, like, how often have we covered Google stories for Bright Bytes and how often have we covered OpenAI stories? There have been 2 OpenAI stories. One was a national research consortium where they gave out $50 million and for Harvard and MIT and other folks, and which was cool. There's no doubt about it.
Great.
The $50 million, it turns out to be really partly cash, also access to the API and sort of credits for the use of OpenAI's tools. And they did another one, which is a A to Z archaeology challenge. And I'm sure there have been others. But, just like to what degree was a Bright Byte a signal of purpose, mission, intent, and alignment to teaching and learning? And so, when you think about where that stack is, and then you compare these two companies through the Bright Byte lens, it's interesting. You also just compare them through the K-12 and higher education lens, right? We've got study mode, which is, kind of cool from OpenAI. We've got the 100 chats from ChatGPT that we've covered. But then think about all the various places that Google's DeepMind is, kind of trying to positively contribute to teaching and learning in K-12 and higher ed. So, there's a list here, but these all. Give us a very quick rundown on these.
Yeah, the Learn About and adaptive textbooks, Gemini quizzes built into YouTube, Gemini's ability to process YouTube videos. I cannot say enough about Notebook LM. It is mind-blowing when I show teachers this. The same with GEMS, and now that GEMS are shareable into classrooms, amazing. The classroom and the Canvas integration, the ability to double-check your answers or your responses from Google, the higher ed student access that,
I can't tell you how many people have emailed me like very happy just about, us. They're like, oh my God, my kid's got like high quality access for a year, which is great.
Yeah. Everything around career, and Google Translate is another great tool. So to me, it seems like Google is really pushing or is really being thoughtful about the K to university environment as part of their model. And maybe it's because they were already so deep into schools with Google Classroom and Google, but it seems like they continue to consider that. Even, the huge move this summer to make sure that Gemini was FERPA compliant and met all the standards for all these states to be able to use it is a huge move. And I guess you don't think that OpenAI will become FERPA compliant or...
they just, I think they have a different set of problems and a different set of opportunities. And so we'll see. These may, up until now, these have felt like two models have been super helpful. I very often encourage people, I know you do too, in professional learning. Oh, it's not working in Gemini, go over to ChatGPT and try it there, as long as it's not like a
student data
PII kind of thing, right? But it does feel like there's a fork in the road now, and that Google and OpenAI are going to go two different paths. So, but if you're Cal State and you basically cut a deal for 500,000 users, or you're the nation state of Estonia or Saudi Arabia, KSA Kingdom Saudi Arabia, and all of a sudden you're talking about Sora 2 and adult themed chats and AI companions and erotica and transactions and advertising. It's just this is likely a fork in the road. So Liz and I, at episode 81 from episode 8, felt like it was important to just say aloud what appears to be happening. You down?
I'm down.
And look, again, a year from now, we might find that Google goes on a particular path, but it does seem like this is a strong opportunity to think critically about access. And we will just leave it at that. But we hope it's been a helpful breakdown. It was helpful for us. I really enjoyed let's go look back at the last several episodes or the last 81 episodes.
Right.
How have the Bright Bytes stacked up?
Right.
Is that an indication of purpose and mission-driven work? So we will see. All right. Now, Liz, speaking of Bright Byte, I didn't do this on purpose. I honestly, every week I'm like, oh, we got 5 Bright Bytes to choose from in the rundown and all sorts of options. And I looked at my list this week. I was like, oh. It's a cool story, but for better or for worse, it is a Google story. And I want to make a full disclosure that was not on purpose. This thing got flagged in my notes over 10 days ago.
Yes.
But
the title is Bringing AI to the Next Generation of Fusion Energy.
And again, for the newer listeners, we should mention that at the end of every episode, and this is a long one, we will talk about some application of AI that is purpose-driven generally beyond generative AI in ways that go beyond the classroom as well, making positive contributions to the environment or natural disaster or all that good stuff.
Medical.
So this one's all about energy.
Yes. So Google DeepMind, may have heard of them before, has partnered with Commonwealth Fusion Systems, CFS, to use AI in advancing fusion energy via Spark, S-P-A-R-C, a compact tokamak.
I had to look up what that was, so I put it in there.
Yes, thank you. This is a smaller, more powerful version of a traditional donut-shaped fusion reactor designed to achieve net energy gain. The collaboration focuses on 3 core areas: simulating plasma with Thorax, an open-sourced AI-integrated simulator now embedded in CFS's daily operations, optimizing energy output using reinforcement learning and evolutionary search via tools like Alpha Evolve.
And we covered Alpha Evolve. That is one of the many, many alphas. And if you're familiar with that stuff, just like go do some work around that. Go to ChatGPT before it becomes your Alpha Evolve AI smut companion or Gemini. But Alpha Evolve is one of the places where they're using generative AI to solve like interesting math problems, algorithms, and it's also a shareable open source tool.
Yes.
Sorry.
Using Alpha Evolve, they explored millions of reactor configurations.
Which is one of the limitations of fusion, right?
Correct.
Yep.
They've been developing AI pilots for real-time control of plasma behavior, including heat management and performance optimization. Whew, that's a lot.
Yeah, so notably DeepMind is advancing from stabilizing plasma, which there's a cool story we covered from a group of kids at Princeton, which were using AI to stabilize plasma. Like, we're not doing an unpack of fusion here, basically to say, if you're not familiar, it is a safe way to generate a ton of energy. And there's a strong belief that AI can be part of the equation through things like what Liz just described, including stabilizing plasma, but also managing heat loads, maximizing output, all in real time. And it's pretty cool. This company, I think we may have covered very quickly a story where Google has actually bought, X number of gigawatts of energy from this Commonwealth Fusion Systems. They're out of Cambridge. I think they were a spinoff from MIT. But fusion doesn't totally really exist yet. We're like on the cusp. And the belief is that AI can take us over the kind of hump here to unlock the potential of fusion. Because if we do, now all these folks can power all the data centers they want. Like essentially energy becomes not free and abundant, but pretty damn cheap. So the Trinity solar sales guy can stop knocking on my door trying to get me to put the solar
panels on your roof. Yep.
All right. So we'll keep an eye on this and we won't call it a Google story exclusively. We'll call it a Commonwealth Fusion System story.
Perfect.
Yeah. But all right. Dr. Rade, thanks for hanging in there. Thanks for, as always, being just the best co-partner.
The most fun work. I do have to shout out some of the great schools we've been in the last couple of weeks.
Please.
We have been I was at Plainville, and then I was at Region 15, and I had such a great time.
These are both schools in Connecticut.
Both Connecticut schools. Region 15, I got to spend a whole hour with their world language department, and we just had such a great time making storybooks in other languages. Now that Notebook LM can do stuff in different languages, they can make podcasts for their more advanced learners. They were making storybooks using gems for their new world language speakers. I got to spend some time with just the math coaches, and I just love math. So we were having a blast, and it's been so much fun being out to these schools and just having an hour or two to show teachers Notebook LM or how to build a gem has been so gratifying.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love seeing your enthusiasm, and I hope, we both get to do more sharing and more travel and more conversations right here at the microphones.
Yeah.
So with that, at an hour and change, it must, in fact, plus, by the way, are you warm?
No, never.
How are you not warm?
But we're matching in purple today.
Oh, look at that. I didn't wear blue, too.
Yeah.
Nice job.
Oh, but I'm going to put in a plug I am at the Full Scale Symposium this weekend. So if you are listening to this on Friday or Saturday when the episode drops, come find me Sunday at the Collaborative Roundtables. I will be talking all about learning thou love.
Fantastic, Liz. I hope you have safe travels, and it must now be time to
roll the credits. As always, we'd love to hear what you think. So please let us know at ChatEDU@edadvance.org. That's EDADVANCE.org. And also rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you are using. ChatEDU is brought to you by EdAdvance, the nonprofit regional education service center in Litchfield, Connecticut. This episode of ChatEDU is sponsored by the National Center for Next Generation Manufacturing. ChatEDU is recorded, edited, and produced by Andre Angelo and Justin Pasco, whose dedication and expertise bring our discussions to life. ChatEDU's executive producer is the multi-talented rock star Cameron Audia. Additionally, we are grateful for the support of our colleague Gary Robinson, and we appreciate his time and talents. And of course, a big ChatEDU shout out to our fearless leader and executive director, Jonathan Costa, for inspiring the pod. And finally, a heartfelt thank you to our listeners for joining us on this journey exploring the thoughtful and innovative integration of AI in education.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Costa, and I am the Executive Director at EdAdvance, and I want you to know how much we appreciate our listeners. If you enjoy the podcast, feel free to explore EdAdvance's other AI services, which include customized professional learning of all kinds, conferences, our new middle and high school student AI literacy course, and our Educator and Leader micro-credential, co-sponsored by the Southern Connecticut State University Office of Workforce and Lifelong Learning. Just visit skills21.org/AI to learn more. That's all for now, and thank you for listening to ChatEDU.